Have you ever wondered what really impacts the price of a home? Whether you are talking about selling, buying, or just curious about how the market works, today we're breaking it all down for you. Welcome to Building Connections Doral Talks. I'm your host, Gonzalez, the podcast where we talk about real estate, local community, and everything in between. And today I want to unpack the 9 key factors that can affect your home values. So I know that you hear a lot about, you can might even see commercials, or you can hear other real estate agents saying, call me and I can find out exactly the value of your own property, of your specific property. And there's a reason for that, because while Zillow and other websites can give you some sort of like an average number, there are 9 key factors that really can impact the specifics of your specific property. That's why it's so important that you actually understand those. And these are the 9 key factors. And then I'm going to break them down to you. We're going to start with the style of the home. We're going to talk about the price per square footage. We're going to talk about the absorption rate and what that actually means. We're going to talk about the conditions of the house, conforming versus non-conforming lot, what that means. I'm going to talk about that and break it down for you. Future house size, meaning what could potentially be built. Bedrooms and bathrooms, that's a very easy one. ADU availability. Yes, that is a thing right here in Florida right now, even growing demand in Miami-Dade County. And lastly, we're going to talk about the tax assessment. So now let us begin and let's start with the very first one. So what does that mean when I say style of a home? You hear this all the time. So what's the style of the home? What does that mean? But what does that specifically mean for you? So in some neighborhoods, you want to talk about buyers' preferences vary market by market. Even here in Doral, some neighborhoods cater to a specific kind of property. So in some neighborhoods, buyers love the charm of a colonial home style, while in other neighborhoods, they will prefer newer designs and what everyone else is after in that specific neighborhood. So style crafts is a first impression and can influence the buyer demand before they even walk in the door if this is something that they have in their mind that they want. Now, and another big one, guys, is the single story versus 2-story homes. So for example, in areas like here in Doral, where we have a lot of families and also retirees, 1-story homes are often in high demand. So there's easier to navigate, especially if you have aging parents or if you have small children. Sometimes when you have those dynamics in your property, people don't want to go up and down the stairs. But 2-story homes, on the other hand, work perfectly for families that have maybe teenagers and they want to have more division in the house, where the living areas are separated from the bedrooms, for example, maybe because they want more privacy because they're growing. Now, so that's this. We talk about the desirability of the property depending on how it looks. Now we talked about 1-story or 2-story, but also what impacts is the layout and flow, the style of the layout. So a Mediterranean house might have like archways, like my house has that. Some even have like an atrium inside of the property, and these people are looking more for character. That's what the buyers are looking for in that specific house, while the split level might be more segmented and appeal less to those people because they're the open concept layout. The next one within this concept is curb appeal and resale. So for the exteriors influence these people because they cared about how the house looks when they come up the house. A home might look dated in the inside or less cohesive for the neighborhood, and that will affect the market value in the long term, and it can sit even longer, even if it's priced right. So it's all an emotional connection for these specific buyers. And the same thing goes for renovated property versus original style. Sometimes the style isn't just the architectural of the property. It's how updated it feels for the buyer. And the home with more traditional style but modern finishes can attract, buyers that were looking for both worlds, the best of both worlds. Like they want the character, but they also want the move-in ready and more modern styles. Now, the next talking point is price per square footage. Okay. All right, so let's talk about something that I hear throughout all the time. Price per square footage. It sounds fancy, and it's just a quick way to price homes based on size. Let's say, let's think about a house like a pizza. Let's compare 2 pizzas, for example, one small one and one large one. And you want to divide it how many slices you can get for pizza. You might divide price a big one or a small one. It's the same idea for a house. You divide the price by how many square feet each has. But let's break it down. Not all slices are equal. Not even in a pizza is the same. You might have extra cheese. You might have more toppings. You might have a crust that has cheese in it. With houses, it's the same thing. The bigger the house, you have the more bedroom. You might have more bedrooms. You might have a pool. You might have an upgraded kitchen. All of these things will make it harder to judge just by the square footage alone. That's why a lot of agents will say, well, but my neighbors they sold for this and they have a 2,600 square foot house. I have a 2,600 square foot house, but you need to add the layers. You need to add the toppings of the pizza to this house. Like, is this kitchen renovated? And even if it was renovated, how much of a renovation? How much do they renovate in this property? Some will not add any more value, but some would, right? And or do they have a pool in there? Do they have a pool in the backyard? Yeah, you have a big backyard, so do they, but they have a pool and you might not. Or even you have a pool and they have a pool and then they have a deck to the pool. So all of this stuff add layers. That's why sometimes you're going to get an estimation from Zillow and even from our own website. If you go from my website, and my website might be a little bit more narrow because we have a smaller area right here that I look in my area. And then after that, I need to come and look at the layers. That's why we will say, contact me so I can give you a more accurate assessment of your property. It matters. So while price per square footage is good, it's just a starting point to compare homes. It doesn't tell the whole story. Small house might have been fully renovated and it might cost more per square footage than a larger house. It all depends. So let's make sure that you don't just assume a square footage by itself. Now, the next point, guys, is the absorption rate. This is a very fancy word. Now, let's talk about these terms. It sounds like something from a science class or something like that. But what it really means is how fast your home will sell in a specific market, right? In an area, not even in a specific market, in a specific neighborhood. Because some houses here in Doral, in one neighborhood will sell way faster than another neighborhood, depending on how many properties are available in that same area that the buyers are looking for. Like, for example, when we were moving here, originally, we did not want to look in any other places other than downtown Doral. We did. My agent at that time, I was not an agent. She had like 3 areas ready to show me houses in Doral. And I was like, don't worry about this and don't worry about that. We do not care about that area. We only care about downtown Doral. And in fact, that's where we were going to originally buy. But the pandemic happened and that's another story. So some buyers only want in a specific neighborhood. And if that specific neighborhood doesn't have that many properties, then you might have a higher demand for that specific buyer. But if that neighborhood had a whole bunch of houses to choose from, then you're going to have competition there in that area. So that's how, okay, so now let's talk about another analogy. It's going to be food again. So let's say that you go to a bakery and they make 10 fresh donuts every morning. If people come in and buy all 10 donuts by noon every day, then those donuts are selling fast. And the baker might say, well, they're selling pretty fast. We either have to make it more expensive or make more because there's people really like these donuts. Now imagine that donuts just don't sell. You bake them in the morning and they stay all day and they only sell 2 or 3 donuts get sold per day. Now, what does this tell the bakery and that specific baker? That the demand is low and they might have to lower the prices or even make fewer donuts because otherwise they're just going to waste money, time, and resources, right? So now the same thing goes with houses. If homes are selling quicker in a specific market, then prices is going to tend to go up because buyers are competing. But if the homes are selling longer for a while in a specific area, then what that means is there's just more supply than there's demand. There's more houses than there's buyers, and prices will have to come down to attract the buyers that are on the market. Those people that are going to buy those 1 to 3 donuts, then once you lower the prices, then you can compete because there's more supply than there's demand. So I hope you get the point. And when you hear absorption rate, you understand that is how fast homes are selling in your area, depending on the demand of the time in your neighborhood. Now, point number 5 is conforming versus non-conforming lots. What does this mean to you? It might not apply right specific to Doral. lot, right? Because we have so many associations here. Although we do have one community that does not have associations. Vanderbilt does not have an association. So now let's talk about baking. Let's talk about food again. Let's bake a cake. And you have the perfect size pan for the recipe, right? Let's think about, this is the conforming lot, the perfect pan to bake a cake. Then you have a perfect lot. It meets all of the rules. It's easy to bake, decorate, and it's gonna be easy to serve. Everything fits just right. Now, figure speaking that this pan is too small and it's weird shaped. This is like a non-conforming lot. Non-conforming lot to build a house, right? You might get a cake, but it will be harder to bake. It might not rise properly, and you might not be able to see all of the layers. It might just not look pretty. You must still have a cake, but it's just not like a perfect cake. In real estate, a conforming lot follows the city zoning, the zoning rules, which makes it easier for a buyer to build on that lot, to refinance, and it will be easier for that owner to resell it, right? Now, a non-conforming lot might have limitations, and it might affect what you can build, which in turn is going to affect the value and the resale of that. So that's what a conforming lot versus non-conforming lot means. I hope I made it easy enough for you to understand what that means. Now let's talk about point number 6, which is the size of the house. And if you can expand to make it bigger, and if you can build on it, think of your house like a Lego set. Let's move on from food. Think about it like a Lego set. Some lots you can build higher or add more pieces to it, like a garage, like a second story, or even a pool, right? So for that future potential. So if the rules in your neighborhood say nope, you cannot build any more than what's already there, than what's already here. It's the limit of what that will limit your next buyer, right? Just like it will limit you from building more Legos. But if your lot gives people the chance to expand later, that's a big value add, especially if you have families and you know that you're going to be growing it. So that's all of this affect value. Now, this does not apply to every house, to every neighborhood, but this, I'm just trying to explain to you everything that affects value. This is everything that buyers are looking when they're going to make an investment. Now, point number 7 is something that is the most common thing, which is the bedrooms and bathrooms. And even though this is easy, all of this stuff matters because, for example, even though this house has 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, it's only 1,400 square feet. And this other house also has 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, but this house is 3,000 square feet. So maybe the living spaces are bigger. So those are not compare apple to apples. They just happen to have the same bedrooms and bathrooms, right? So that's when square footage come into play. That's where the bigger pizza to the smaller pizza comes into place. All of this stuff matters. So each house, even though you're in the same neighborhood, might just be a little difference based on the specific ones you include all of these factors in, right? Now, let's move to point number 8. We're almost done here, guys. So this is what is called ADU availability. So ADU availability, like I said, it's becoming more and more famous right here in Florida, specifically in Miami-Dade, because it's so expensive nowadays and people like to move here and have big families. So let's imagine that your backyard is big enough and in a way that you can add a bonus room in your house. Just like you might convert a garage, like a lot of people do, that you convert a room into an office or a guest bedroom, your backyard could be transformed into a separate living area. And this specific living area has to be separate, it's in your lot, but it's separate from the house. This is what is called an accessory dwelling unit, in short, ADU. Now, in Florida, like I said, homeowners right here in Miami-Dade are increasingly adding ADU for their properties, and they're using it for these purposes. Family living, providing space for maybe aging parents or maybe kids that are growing, they're going to college, but it's too expensive for them. So that's what they're using it for rental income. They can offer this unit for rental income to offset the expenses of their own mortgage mortgage. And some people are using it for affordable housing because they know that maybe they want to help the community. Maybe they don't need it for their mortgage, but they know that people need lower rentals. So sometimes they rent their units like that. And also at the same time, they make a little bit of money. Now, it is important to know that I say this right here in my podcast, that it involves the specific locals and regulations. For instance, in Miami-Dade, there are requirements regarding lot size, unit size, the parking, and obtaining the permits, the right permits. And it is known, don't quote me, I'm not a builder. It is known that it takes a long time sometimes to go through the process to get your permits approved. So go through the process, just start. And then so as homeowners association, additionally to the permits to the zoning of your area, you also have to figure it out what your homeowners associations may allow or may not allow, as they have their own rules, and what they could permit in your specific lot. So before you even try to do anything like that, just make sure that you consult your local zoning authorities and review your association guidelines to ensure that you're in compliance. By doing so, you're going to be good to go. Now, let's talk about this one. This one I really, really, really want to hone in. Hopefully, I can make it simple enough for everybody to understand. We're going to talk about point number 9, which is tax. People believe this might not matter, but it matters because, for example, the tax assessment here, even in my community, it's so much different than the taxes in downtown Doral, for example. And then all of this matters if you have extra association or tax assessment in your community besides your house assessment. So when people hear tax assessment, their eyes glaze over, right? Let's go, okay. So let's break it down so it can make sense. So let's talk about food again, of the tax assessment like a sandwich. Tax assessment of your house like a sandwich. Okay, now we've got the bread. The bread is going to be your land. Bread equals land in this analogy. And everything in between, it's going to be your house and the improvement. House plus improvement. The bread is the land. Everything else is house plus improvement. So the county looks at both to figure how much your home is worth for tax purposes, not for market value. Tax purposes, one thing. That's what the tax assessor do. Tax purposes, not market value. Now, this tax assessment has 3 parts. These 3 parts is land assessment. So this is just the value of the land by itself. Imagine an empty lot, no house, no driveway, just dirt. This is the land assessment. Now, improve assessment, this is the value of everything built on the land. This is everything else in the sandwich. The land, remember, is the bread, everything else is the sandwich. So on the land, so your house, your pool, your garage, even your patio, if it's permanent, this is all the house plus the improvement, right? So the total assessment, this is the number. It is the land plus the improvement is the total value for tax office used to figure out your property taxes, not your market value. Now, just remember that the numbers don't always match what your homes could sell for. So just keep that in mind. So to wrap this up, guys, pricing of a home is more than just quick numbers. It is more complicated than just like, what Zillow says. It's all about understanding the market. This is one and foremost, and what buyers value in the market at the time. And also what's the demand in the area, the market absorption rate. So if you're thinking of selling or you want to understand where your home stands, let's chat. I am always here. I'm here happy to help. And remember, guys, I am your host on Building Connections Doral Talks. I am also your real estate agent right here in Doral for Doral Homes by Gonzalez. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Have a great day and have a great weekend. See you again next week. Bye. Real quick, calling all Doral professionals, entrepreneurs, and community influencers. Are you ready to showcase your business, share your knowledge and experience with our engaged audience? Building Connections Doral Talks invites you to become a guest speaker on our podcast. Share your unique perspectives and inspiring stories with our listeners. We believe in the power of your voice in shaping that conversations right here in Doral. Click the link below to submit your information and be part of of our next episode. Join us in building connections, sharing knowledge, and growing together. Don't miss this opportunity to be a featured guest on Building Connections Doral Talks. Tune in, connect, share, and grow together with Building Connections Doral Talks, reshaping the way we engage with the diverse voices of Doral, one guest at a time. Doral Talks, your voice, our community. Click the link now on the show notes, the screen, or in the comments below, or just scan the QR code to submit your information as a guest. I hope to see you soon. See you in the next podcast. Bye.